Hello. Hello, hello, hello. We are live, friends. I believe we are live. It's always interesting. I think we're live. Yes, we are. We are live, friends. Thanks for jumping on. It is Thursday. It is noon central. No, wait, it's Tuesday. I'm jumping ahead. Oh, wait, we got to listen. Hold on. We got some bumper music. We got some music coming in. Y'all ready for today? Let this music play for a little bit. Sure, we're live. We are. Y'all know who this is? This is the George Michael. Are you familiar with the George Michael? Yep. Thanks for jumping on, friends. It is DLea DLayer. David Lee here with Daring Deeply. Today we're going to talk about sex. Usually, okay, hold on. George has got to quiet down. This is George Michael. It's a song from the 80s, a huge hit for him. It's called simply "I Want Your Sex." And yeah, but we're going to turn George off for right now. So those of you that didn't jump on immediately, you missed out on George Michael. I Want Your Sex. We're going to talk about sex again today. Usually, typically, always, Tuesdays at noon on DLea DLayered. We talk about issues, complexities, topics on sex and intimacy. And today is no different. We are going to talk about, what is the topic today? 5 ways. Oh, it's practical stuff today. Practical stuff today. Super excited about this. So, practical things. 5 ways to keep sex alive. Interesting. Let me grab a little bit of my green juice. Shout out to Paige Stewart for introducing the celery juice. Love the celery juice. Truly, I do. Excuse me while I take a sip. So, we're going to talk about 5 practical ways. Simple, not easy. This is important to always note. Okay. 5 ways to keep sex, sexual encounters, your sexual experience with your spouse, with your partner, right? With the soul in which you choose to engage in sexual experiences, how to keep it alive, how to keep it wild, how to keep it new and fresh. Anyone out there, those of you that are watching live, anyone out there have some feedback? Are you familiar with the idea? I'm going to bring this up here because I'm not seeing, I want to make sure that I see everyone. And bear with me for just a moment. Yes, this is what happens when you're live. So I want to make sure that I catch comments. So please, those of you that are new to the DLea DLayers, all right, I want to try to keep these as conversations. So please leave comments, right? This is a conversation, right? If you have a story, if you're open to share, whatever you're open to share. So we're going to talk about 5 practical ways in which to keep sex alive. Woo! Anybody out there want to keep sex alive? Why is it though? Because we always ask the question why here at Daring Deeply, Leadership, Life, and Relationship Coaching. Why do we even have this conversation? Well, we have a lot of these conversations about sex and intimacy because, quite frankly, they're taboo. They typically are taboo. It's still really challenging for so many of us to have conversations about sex and intimacy outside the realms of potentially even your partner or perhaps no one, right? I know that I have dealt with levels of shame surrounding sex and intimacy forever until the last couple of years. And so I want to really crash into that narrative and to share with all of you conversations that can be challenging and difficult and make them more normal. Imagine that. And so that's why we're diving into this. So 5 ways to keep sex alive, because I don't know about you, but I would love to hear your perspective. Hello, Samantha. Good to see you. Thanks for jumping on. I would love to hear if you have had the same experience that so many others have had, and I certainly have had, okay, is why, here's key questions here at the top. Why does sex tend to linger into boredom, monotony, right? Typically, when we meet our partner, our spouse, okay, whatever your situation is, sex is hot and heavy and oh so amazing at the beginning, right? There's newness, right? You don't know one another, and so you're experiencing something new, and there's something incredibly powerful. Well, what happens, right, more often than not, is it tends to get stale. Boredom, routine. Anyone experience routine? Right. So today is about combating potentially challenging and going up against this narrative that sex has to be routine. It has to be the same thing, and ways in which to electrify to keep our sex alive. So, hello, Lori. Thanks for jumping on. Lori says, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about, okay, not you and me. Good morning from the Pacific Northwest. Hello, Lori. Always keeping it real, always keeping it funny. Thank you, Lori, for jumping on. She's chiming in from the Pacific Northwest. So let's jump right in here. So there's the question. Why does, and I would love to hear and have the interaction here live, friends, or if you're going to watch this later, fantastic. Place in the comments why you believe, maybe it's your experience, maybe it's not been your experience at all, that sex has lingered into boredom, routine. We've done that. We've been there. We've tried this. I've touched you there. We've had sex here, right? Why does it that we tend to, not always, and I'm sure there are many, many stories in which, hey, sex remains alive in relationships of 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. And I would love to hear those as well. But typically that's not the typical experience. And so I want to dive into 5 key areas, 5 key tools and strategies and ways in which to perhaps alter perspective when it comes to your sexual experiences. Are you in for that? Anyone want to hear? Are you waiting? You're like, hurry up, David, get to the point. I got stuff to do, right? I'm watching this or I'm listening to it. Maybe you're at work, maybe it's your lunch. So we're going to jump in here. All right. So again, share your experiences. Love your feedback. Here we go. Number one, the number one of 5 ways in which to keep sex alive. Number 1 is this: physical cueing. Those of you taking notes at home, right? You've got your journal, right? Okay, keeping mental notes. Number 1 is physical cueing. So what does that mean? Physical cueing. It is so uber important for those who have powerfully enlightening, awakened, arousing, erotic sexual experiences. Physical cueing tends to be at the top of the list. What does that mean? It means touch, intentional touch. It means eye contact. Put my glasses on for a second so I can see y'all. Eye contact, right? How you feel right now? Y'all looking? Eye contact is so super uber. It's a physical cue to say you are present. Right? Have you had sexual experiences where your partner was not leveraging, utilizing intentional eye contact? Have you been there? How did you feel? Anyone like to share? How did you feel? Lori says, lack of an elevated, honest conversation. Yes, indeed. We're going to get there. Thank you, Lori. So part of this physical cueing, smiling, expressing what you truly feel in the moment. And this goes for what you desire and what you are not receiving too. We're going to get to the communication in just a moment, right? But it's so uber important, right? This physical cueing is going on, smiling, eye contact, intentional touch, playful laughter. We're going to talk a little bit more about playfulness today. And this is really going to be a key centered idea about sex and how for some reason, playfulness begins to leave our sexual experiences as we mature. Why is that? It's probably an interesting note to make about life in general, that as we move away from childlike behavior, playfulness, right, adolescent behavior, right? This idea, I often refer to it as the preschool concept, is when you remember when we were in preschool, right? And we didn't give a shit what people thought. We went and played with who we wanted to, and we invited ourselves into it. And we weren't concerned about people pleasing or what people thought about us or what we looked like. We got dirty, didn't matter. Perhaps I would invite you to consider to include more of that playfulness, that childlike playfulness into our sexual experiences, right? Playful laughter, gentle, appropriate, inviting touch, eye contact, smiling, really expressing those physical cues, right? The lingered touch, right? Inviting those with whom we're sharing these sexual experiences with. Physical cues are uber important. That's number 1. Number 2, moving forward, is verbal cueing. Verbal cueing. I consistently, as we work with women, almost exclusively, right? And we get into some of these topics of sex and intimacy. This is the feedback that I consistently hear from women. And see, those of you women that are on the call, see if this resonates. Is it often your male partner lacks verbal cues? Perhaps the moans, perhaps the grunts, perhaps the verbal expression, talking, communicating. Okay. I often hear that at times women will not even know or realize when a man is climaxing, when he's having an orgasm, other than the fact that he may be done, right? And that the verbal cues are less. What I will share with you, ladies, right? Let me provide a little bit of masculine perspective on this, okay? Verbal expression for men oftentimes has a layer of shame attached to it if we do it. Outside of hooting and hollering in a ball game, right? Screaming and yelling. Okay. But oftentimes we men are shamed for an expression of emotion anyway, right? And if we express something very powerful and emotional and vulnerable when we're having sex, right? It's very odd for us. So a little bit of what should we say? A little bit of takeaway here, ladies. I would invite you to make it a safe, inviting, comfortable, vulnerable space for the men in your life, the men in which you are engaging in sex, your spouse, your husband, your partner, right? That it's a safe space to express himself verbally. What we do know is when we hear verbal cues, when we hear verbal expressions, either gender, all genders, it is incredibly arousing, isn't it? Those of you right now may be thinking, yeah, the last time I had sex with my partner, he or she said this and it sent me flying. Woo! Got me all tingled inside. Brought a level of arousal during my sexual experience that was unmatched because of what he or she said in the moment. Important. Verbal cueing. I have some of these things written down right here, right? When you hear words, and I'm not going to get too deep here, okay? All right? Because we're in the middle of the day. Just saying, okay? But phrases like take me, give it to me, I love you, more, touch me there, pound me, okay? And I'm sure there are much more elevated, right, and arousing phrases that you have heard or said. I would encourage and invite you all to express yourself verbally, right, without the shame associated with what the other person, with what your spouse may, without your partner may respond. That you be you, boo, as they say. Right. Hello, Lisa. Thanks for jumping in here. Lisa says, should you tell them that they can verbalize? Yes. Important, Lisa. I would say here live answering that question is invitation. We talk about this all the time in elevated language, elevated conversation at Daring Deeply, is engaging in these sensitive conversations or tough, challenging conversations is invitation is best. Hey, babe, I would invite you to consider, please. I love to hear you express. It revs me up. It arouses me. It gets me going. I want to hear whatever is coming out of you. Might be a lot more receptive to hearing that as opposed to, and let me provide this too, as opposed to a shaming element, which means I need to hear you. Why don't you talk? Why don't you express? Why don't I know when you're having or coming to an orgasm? I want to know that, right? Do you feel that? It's a little bit more shaming, a little bit more, where are you? What you doing? What's your problem? Okay. Rarely do we as humans respond positively to those types of interactions. So I would invite you to keep invitation to all these types of conversations. Thank you, Lisa, for the question. How about this? Under the verbal cue, we're still on number 2. Under the verbal cue, use their name. When you're engaging in conversation, in sexual activity, use their name. Okay. By the way, those of you that may choose to be with multiple partners, okay, just saying, be mindful of who you're with. Okay, hearing someone else's name during a sexual encounter can really ruin a moment. Cheers. Use their name. And lastly, this is a big takeaway, and we're going to really highlight this a little bit later. I would invite you with your partner, with your committed partner, with your spouse, with your husband, with your wife, to create, this is fun, under verbal cues, to create your own sex lex. Huh? What? What does that mean? Sex lex, lexicon, language. Okay. Did you see what we did there? Okay. Shout out to Paige Stewart. She and I were working on this content this morning. All right. We created this idea. Created, who knows? Nothing new under the sun. But let's go with it. Hashtag SexLex. Create with your partner your own sexual lexicon. So perhaps you can communicate, right, outside of privacy, right? You're at a party, you're out with family, right? Is this playfulness that can happen. You create your own sex lex, your own sexual language, right? Could include something like this. Hey, babe, should we go and order Chinese? That could be part of your sex lex. Now, I don't know if you like Chinese, and that's fine. The point is you have a code, you have your own lexicon, your own language, your own sex lex. Ooh, how's that feel? I would invite you to consider in the verbal cueing, number 2, create your own sex lex. By the way, I'm going to make a note here. There are those of you that may be watching this live, and thank you for being on here live or watching it later, who are not engaged with a partner, who are not married, who are not partnered, who may be dating, who not be sexually active. And that's okay. That's okay. Take notes, because my guess is in the future, you will be sexually active, right? And it would be important to lean into this, be confident and comfortable in this process. Okay. Number 3, ladies and gentlemen, the word is symbiosis. Number 3 is symbiosis, symbiotic behavior. And I'm going to go under this label. So number 3 is symbiotic. Taking turns and truly sharing without the expectation of return. What we have discovered is that couples that have a live sex have a symbiotic relationship, and it's not tit for tat, pun intended. Okay. It's not contractual. Let me unpack that a little bit. What contractual means. Contractual means if I do, then you will. Right? It's like a contract, like a business contract, right? If you pay money, you can own a home. You get the home, they get the money. It's a contract. If I do, then you will. Right? Which makes sense in business. It does not make sense in sex. It does not make sense in personal relationships. In fact, what I would offer is that it is covenantal rather than contractual. Covenantal rather than contractual. Covenantal meaning I will even when you won't. Ooh, that's a deep sense of love, passion, understanding, and trust, right? That sexual experiences get hung up on this idea that I do this, then you do that, right? Tit for tat. It's not fair. I finish you, you finish me, right? That orgasm becomes the goal in so much of our sexual experiences. And it simply can be elevated above that and beyond that. We've talked about this before on Tuesday, DLea DLayered, where we want to make the orgasm not the central focus and goal of every sexual experience you have with your spouse and partner. Right. So we want covenantal sexual experiences rather than contractual. That there are times when pleasure is solely for one person and you have this beautifully orchestrated and understood sexual relationship with your spouse or partner that says that's okay, right? It doesn't always have to be about both sides all the time, okay? Let's see. I'm just looking at live comments. Fantastic. We're caught up. Thank you. Great. Okay. Enjoying, I have this in my notes too. We're still on number 3, enjoying and giving and receiving individually. Okay. That just because someone gives it to you, your partner gives it to you, doesn't mean you give it back. Okay. But you have a deep sense of understanding and trust that you know that beforehand, by the way, right? By the way, these conversations about sex, okay, most powerful in and outside the bedroom, that we have sexual conversations and openness with our partner outside of the bedroom, because as we know, and you may have experienced this, raise of hands if you've had this experience, where you've had a really, really sensitive conversation in the midst of sex and everything went south. Ooh, that can be tough, right? Because you're in the moment and there's arousal and then someone's feelings were, quote, hurt, right? It's really important to have these elevated conversations outside the bedroom as well. Okay, let's move forward. Number 4, we're on to number 4, creativity. Creativity. What we have also found is that those couples who experience powerful, powerful sexual experiences over the long term consistently enjoy one another. Creativity is at the forefront. Creativity in choosing location where sex happens. Okay. I've referred to this a couple of times and I've said this. Okay. I've said in the bedroom, right? Which is a euphemism for sex. What I would offer is location. Okay. including that playfulness. Remember that childlike preschool adolescent playfulness and risk-taking and danger and the things we just didn't care. We were just going to go do it. And then somehow we were told once upon a time to grow up. Anybody ever told to grow up? To being a child, right? That it's time to be an adult. We see this all the time. Oh, I don't want to adult today. I don't blame you, because if it means to adult that we regulate and relegate our spontaneity, our danger, our risk-taking, our playfulness, our exploration, our experimentation, especially when it comes to sex, no wonder that our sex can become stale. So creativity, location, positioning, right? And no, not every single sexual position has been discovered. I would invite you to explore and experiment openly with consent. Important. Okay. Touch, time of day. Okay. Newsflash. Are y'all listening? Quick. Are you listening? Shh, come here. Come real close. Can you hear me? Okay. Sex is not just for bedtime. Okay. All right. Did I say it? Sex is meant for the shower. Sex is meant for outdoors. Sex is meant for the kitchen. Sex is meant for the living room floor, the front yard. Okay. Just be aware. Just saying, people may be watching. Okay. I am not condoning. Okay. I am just saying. Okay. What we have found is that more creative, okay, the folks that are engaging in sexual experiences together, your spouse, your husband, your wife, your partner. Okay. The more creativity, and be creative in your foreplay, by the way. Okay. Right. We've talked about ways in which to really engage in creative foreplay on past episodes of DLea DLayered. Right. There is a myriad of different ways, right, to be creative in your foreplay. All right. And number 5, as we bring this to a close, ladies and gentlemen, number 5 is most likely, I would offer, the most important. And number 5 is mindset. Number 5 is mindset. It's mindset. It's what do you want to accomplish? What do you want in your sexual experiences with your spouse, with your partner? Okay. I would invite you to consider this question. Okay. When you are engaging in your next sexual experience, ask yourself and invite your partner to ask the same question. It might really initiate some powerful conversation and sexual experience. How would the 20-year-old, how would the 25-year-old self negotiate, navigate, and pursue your sexual experience? Do you remember who you were when you were 20? How would that 20-year-old you experience, want, desire? Because that part of you is not dead. Perhaps it's been silenced. Perhaps it's been relegated. Perhaps it's been dismissed, but it's still within you. And I invite you to explore that powerful part of you that is playful and risk-taking and adventurous and experimental. Doesn't that sound good? Sharing a co-creative mindset with your partner is vital, as we have found in mindset, is that if we foresee what we want our sexual experiences to be, we can manifest those and move to those. I often refer to sexual experiences as a dance. I love to dance. I love music. I love to dance. My father, little known fact, God love you. God rest Lanny Lee. Shout out to my dad. He was a classically trained professional ballet dancer. Isn't that cool? Pretty cool. I know it's a great conversation starter for me. And I received a little bit of his talent. I love to dance. And I consider the choreography of sex to be a dance, right? So together we can move together, right? In our sexual experiences, that we can have a mindset that says we want to move in this way, that the mindset is not what am I going to get out of it? It's what I can give. Mindset is important. So important. Actually envisioning the experience. Imagine if our sexual experiences were more like that. All right, so let's review, friends. Here we go. 5 ways in which you can continue to or reignite sex in your life, in your partnership, in your marriage, right? Here we go. Number 1, physical cueing. Number 2, verbal cueing. Number 3, symbiosis. Okay. That's where covenant versus contractual, right? We want covenantal sex. We don't want if you will, then I will. Okay. That's when it becomes fair and who's doing what. And then we do this and then you do this and it becomes rote and routine. Number 4, creativity. Think about location and positioning and conversation, right? Time of day. And number 5, mindset. Okay. So physical cueing, verbal cueing, symbiosis, creativity, and mindset. All 5 important. I hope this has been incredibly helpful. I hope it's been valuable. Thank you for your comments. Thanks for watching live, my friends. You can catch us every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Central on DLea DLayer. That's what we're calling this segment. We also then post these up onto our new YouTube channel. Please go and check that out. Look up Daring Deeply on YouTube, subscribe, hit the little bell so you keep up with all of the videos that we post. And by the way, we do have a playlist on the YouTube channel that is exclusively on YouTube. You can't find it anywhere else on any of the social networks. Okay. So go there, ring the bell, subscribe. It's Daring Deeply on YouTube. A note, I will not be here this coming Thursday, as we will be hosting one of our powerful Daring Deeply, It's Time for Me ladies retreats here in the Kansas City area. We're welcoming 6 amazing women to this area, and we're going to spend 3-4 days talking in some ways a lot about what we're talking about today. And by the way, if you're interested in knowing more about our powerful, immersive 3-day retreats, let me know. Send me a comment. Okay. We're more than happy to talk to you about that. And so I will not be here this Thursday. We'll be back next Tuesday for another episode of DLea DLayered. Thank you so much for jumping on. So appreciate all of you for following and making this a part of your every Tuesday and Thursday. If you have any other questions about what we do, Daring Deeply, leave a comment. Can't wait to talk to you. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.